Breaking news. There is a new form of racing that's been invented, and I am not talking about our beloved horse race tests. Screw jovial merriment anyway, I bet you he's on the juice. No. Instead, the contestants of this faux Grand Prix are much smaller, though despite their tiny size, the spectacle is sweeping the nation. And by nation, I do mean actually only Southern California. And the race I'm talking about today is sperm racing. That's right, folks. On April 25th, in the year of our Lord 2025, the official sperm racing startup hosted the very first official sperm race in the LA Center studios, featuring, supposedly, live sperm. Now, as chronically online as I am unfortunately only chronically online in very specific places that do not involve Twitter, so I almost didn't find out about this race. Literally, the only reason why I found out about this event is because this one DJ that I partied with one time in Venice apparently DJ'd at this event. Yeah, shout out to Westside V, glad you're getting blessed with bookings, bro. Anyway, I saw V's IG story and thought to myself, wait, am I reading this right? Did someone I know actually collab with Ty Dolla $ign? Wait, what the hell is sperm racing? So I clicked on the account and lo and behold, this is a real event. Now, the premise of competing to see how quickly your cum can come to the finish line is already bizarre enough. But everything about the event is a bit odd. Minor detail, but the event was originally supposed to take place at the Hollywood Palladium, which is a much larger and more famous venue here in Southern California. And you know what they say, bigger is better. Laugh at my joke. But apparently, according to the sperm racing founders, the Hollywood Palladium did not like being associated with such a raunchy event. So a week prior, they asked the company to blow their load at a different venue. This put the company in a sticky situation, but luckily they found relief at the LA Center studios. Second thing that makes this weird is the sperm racing team itself, specifically the founders. Because the two main co-founders, Eric Zhu and Nick Small, are literally teenagers, with Eric being only 17 and Nick being 16. Looking at their histories, before this, apparently Eric founded a company called Aviato that appears to be some sort of platform or make some sort of software for data API. Don't ask me for specifics, I don't really know. What I do know though is that this name appears to be a reference to the show Silicon Valley. One of the comically insufferable characters on there named Ehrlich also owned a company called Aviato.
You know Aviato?
Yes, Aviato.
My Aviato?
Is there any other Aviato?
Well, legally there cannot be.
Now, I don't know anything about Eric's company, but according to this TechCrunch article, it's supposedly good. Eric Bond, co-founder of Hustle Fund and investor of Aviato, commented on how Zhu actually did some good work with his product. Bond was worried at first that he was flushing money down the literal toilet, especially because Zhu took their first Zoom call meeting on the toilet, but I guess things worked out. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Eric Zhu's whole gimmick is like bathrooms, because apparently he did have to host his early business meetings in his school's bathroom stalls, something which he did get in trouble for. He totally leans into it too. He has like a spare toilet model for his IG reels. It's a whole bit. You know, I have Majima, he has his toilet, everyone has their own comforts. One last thing about Eric, apparently his parents didn't even know that he was creating the sperm race. In this article by Daily Mail, his dad described being shocked when his friends gave him the tip-off that his son was creating some sort of jizz-off. But I suppose in the end, supposedly the parents were supportive, with the mom even attending the event in person, I believe. As for Nick, he supposedly had a line of NFTs called Ranchy Rednecks that he supposedly sold out all when he was just 13, which is crazy to think about. Imagine being 13 and selling out a line of like 1,000 NFTs. When I was 13, I had my first love. There was nobody that compared to my baby, and nobody came between us nor could ever come above. Now, if you've been watching me, you know that I personally do not have a good view on crypto. And I don't necessarily like that this absolute fetus is already partaking in the crypto Kool-Aid at such a young age. But I will have to admit, having the attention span and drive for such a large project is very impressive. This kid was doing his own interviews and press runs for his NFTs at 13. You have to appreciate his moxie at the very least. But anyway, yeah, those are the two founders for the sperm racing company. Looking at the company's manifesto page, they claim that the reason for creating this race is to bring awareness to the pandemic that is declining male fertility. And, as Eric has explained in other interviews, declining male health overall, a reference to how some health factors can affect sperm health. In other interviews I read, Eric threw out some statistics, something about how men have seen a 50% decrease in their sperm count in the past 50 years, and how 40% of men are never evaluated when a couple is struggling with infertility. Now, I'm not sure how accurate these actually are. When I tried looking for any sort of data regarding men being evaluated for infertility cases, I didn't really receive exact numbers. But I did notice a good amount of articles talking about how women are always examined in infertility cases without the men being taken into consideration. So perhaps that serves as some sort of corroboration for that 40% statistic. However, when it comes to actual sperm count, this article by phys.org, a site that I personally trust a little more for scientific news, stated how scientists have actually received conflicting evidence for sperm count decline. So it seems like the 50% statistic might be a little less substantiated. Okay. I'm sorry, didn't realize you had opinions about this. What strikes me and some others as a little odd, though, is that even though this event is supposed to raise awareness for sperm health, I didn't really see any mention of any of the profits going to any health or social organizations that would assist with this endeavor. Also, I have to be a little cautious of anything promoting increased fertility. Not that wanting to have kids is inherently bad or anything, but it is just a little weird timing considering the rise of conservatism and how many conservative figures are all very pro-natalist and really weird about maximum reproduction and eugenics. In fact, Eric did in one interview have to clarify how he does not want to be associated with Elon Musk in this aspect, and that he did not mean for it to come off this way. These are all nitpicks, by the way, because let's be so for real for 1 second. Even though these teens are talented and smart, they are, at the end of the day, still teens, and probably ultimately wanted to host this event for the memes, despite how serious they claim they are. No one really learned anything at this event. It's really all a huge joke. It's an impressive, very organized joke, but a joke event nonetheless. But speaking of, how was the event anyway? I'm not sure exactly how many people attended, but according to this article by the Economic Times, there were supposedly more than 1,000 spectators. Or at least that's how many were expected to show up. Let me know if you actually went to the event. Let me know how it was. When I was looking at the live stream of the event, I did see someone comment on how there weren't too many people there and that the investors were a bit upset because they did not sell out like they were expecting to. But that is just what some rando said. I don't know if that's actually true or not. It was a competition between two very famous colleges here in Southern California, USC versus UCLA. If you're not in the sporting world or the college world, I guess, these two colleges are known to have a rivalry. Not that I went to either of these colleges, but back in the day, I had more UCLA friends, and we used to call USC the University of Spoiled Children. Yeah, some hot zingers there. That may be an UNC term now, though. It's been a long while since I've been in college. Let me know if UCLA kids are still clowning on USC like that. There were two sets of competitors. One non-main event race between Jimmy Zhang and Noah Boat, both of whom I believe are content creators. And in the main event, USC's Tristan Milker versus UCLA's Asher Proger. And with a name like Tristan Milker, I think it's pretty obvious who won the race. It was a best out of three situation with Tristan winning the first round, Asher the second, but then Tristan coming out on top in that last race. As for the non-main event, I believe that one was just a straight race and Jimmy Zhang won that one. The losers did receive a shower of what looked like fresh cream pie filling, and I think the winner received like $10,000 or something, not too sure. Also want to note that Ty Dolla $ign performed in between these two sets of races as like a little halftime show. I think he performed like 3 songs from what I read in the comments. Now, if you're wondering how they had the sperm race, from appearances and from what I've read in articles, they stored samples from their competitors and then essentially injected the samples onto a racetrack. A racetrack that was meant to simulate the shape of ovaries. Now, if you've seen the footage of the race and then also have seen the footage of actual sperm, yeah, this has gotta be at least visually enhanced in some way. I'm not going to claim that this is fake or anything because firstly, I don't want to be sued. And secondly, my expertise is more in chemistry rather than biology, even if I don't know how I got a chemistry degree in the first place. But these swimmers are a little fishy in my opinion. From what I hear, sperm are also not the most coordinated, so it's a little sus that they're just happily racing this fast on this little track. But I think the sperm racing company also mentioned something about hormones and a current being on the racetrack. So that way the sperm could be assisted in that way? Listen, I have a lot of questions just as you probably do, okay? And the sperm racing Twitter did say that they were going to release some sort of methodology documents over the weekend, but of the time of filming this, the weekend has passed, and I could not find any documentation neither on Twitter nor on the official website, so legitimacy of the races is a huge question mark to me. Hi, Editing Sugar Meat here with an update. The Sperm Racing Company actually did reveal a little more of their methodology on Tuesday, April 29th onto Twitter. I was hoping for maybe like an in-depth document, but I suppose tweets will have to do. So they showed the side-by-side comparison, what the sperm racetrack actually looks like, which seems more of a straight shot compared to the racetrack they showed their audience on screen. They had already mentioned this on their website and in previous interviews, but the sperm are essentially injected in a way that creates rheotaxis. Rheotaxis is essentially a common instinctual behavior seen amongst aquatic animals, and I suppose this includes sperm, where if they feel a current, they will turn to swim against a current. And this is usually done for survival. So as we see in this diagram here, it looks like they induced a current in order to encourage the sperm to swim in the direction of the finish line. From there, the actual sperm are monitored by a program, and based on this guy's explanation, seems like each distance they travel is essentially assigned a data point. The program then uses these data points to animate the sperm that the audience can see on screen, in this more fluid animation and cooler looking racetrack. I do have more questions specifically about the timing and preparation of the sperm, especially since I do know that sperm are very sensitive and don't really last long outside of the reproductive tract, but that also may just be because I'm not familiar with the advanced methodology it takes to preserve and filter sperm. As I said, not a biology girly. So if everything they say is true, this race itself is technically not fake, but it is severely enhanced to be in a more entertainingly digestible format for the audience. Now, because of this, there were some legitimate concerns raised, predominantly by a professor. In this article by USC Annenberg Media, Richard Paulson, a professor of obstetrics and gynecology, noted how the sperm shown on screen aren't actual sperm. Okay, fair enough. That's something that was already established in the methodology tweets, but he also raised concerns about how the sperm were selected. To quote, he said, "Normal ejaculate has 150 million sperm in it. How do you know you chose the most motile one?" To add, the article revealed that this wasn't a live event after all. The actual sperm race took place 20 minutes before the event, so the winner technically was predetermined before the event as well. And while the article doesn't state if the contestants themselves already knew the results, in my opinion, it kind of takes away the excitement of the event. I don't know. Sure, I can deal with visually enhanced sperm, but I personally think it's cooler if they represent sperm movement in real present time. People also placed bets on this race using crypto, by the way. And again, while I don't like crypto, I do believe that having this be a non-live event and having the results known half an hour before the event opens windows for what's the correct term? Dishonesty? Gambling malpractice? Whatever you want to call it. So I do believe that these can be areas of improvement. To find a way to make this a truly live event, and to find ways to prove your integrity to your sports betting audience members. At least that's my opinion. Let me know what you guys think the official sperm racing company should do in order to improve. But anyway, that was essentially the sperm races, folks. I just wanted to cover this topic real quick because what even is real life nowadays? Is this a recession indicator? What are we doing? Anyway, folks, if you are interested in competing in the sperm races, the sperm racing website does state that they will have tryouts at some point. Something about making this a real sport. So, you know, if you ever wanted to prove that your sperm is superior for some reason, looks like there's a career for you, buddy. Alright, that's it. As an ace, I like quick finishes. That's the video. Goodbye.
Looks like I came too fast. I'll never slow down. Send this to a friend who can't hold their load.